Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on February 26th. First item on the agenda is an update from the Springdale Study Committee, but Ann Reitmeyer, who I believe is going to be coming tonight to give this an update, is not here yet. So I think we'll skip that agenda item for a moment and skip to item number 2, which is a discussion of the Water Study Committee. So as we were going through the due diligence on the 46 Springdale property, May, June, July, August, September, and October, the whole issue of water came up in general to the town, and anecdotal information about difficulties in finding water for private wells. We had the Colonial Water Company come in to present on their business and what they do with Dover. Couple of meetings ago, and we discovered that we really don't have a lot of information on the aquifers, the hydrology of Dover, estimates about the kind of water availability we have now, demand, the quality, what the impact of growth might be on our water availability in the future, not only for wells, but also for ecosystems and some wetlands that we have in Dover. So we discussed the fact that it would probably be a good idea to create a small little committee to start to address the issue. So what I have done, and is in your packet, is a very preliminary draft of a charge for Water Study Committee, and what I'd like to do is have you guys take a look at it, and we can work on it and maybe get it approved at the next meeting. But the gist of it is that I think it's a multi-phase project, and what I would like to recommend that at this point that what we do is put together a committee of really only 3 or 4 folks to explore what the best way is to proceed to get the kind of information we need. You know, what are the state resources? What are the resources through, consultant geologists and hydrologists? What are resources and data that Colonial Water Company has? What are resources that some of our local universities and colleges might have as far as engineering co-op type programs and so forth? With the idea that by the end of calendar year 15, so it's sometime between now and this coming December, that the committee come back to the board with, here's how we suggest we proceed. And I'm sure in the process of doing the due diligence and talking to these various professional folks that understand this, that more questions will probably come up and so forth. And take all that and make a recommendation to the board as to how to proceed. What kind of charge for the next? Is it something we bring in-house to our town engineer? Who knows? But we really know at this point very little about it. We have some information. Ladies, where you can find when folks go through files, right? So we have a 1995 report that was commissioned by the board back then. So it's a Dover report. About water availability. And we have a report by the Massachusetts Executive Office of Environmental Affairs from 2004. So at the state level, where they gave us quite a lot of information about Dover and aquifers and hydrology reports and so forth and so on. So we have something from each decade, and now it's 2015, so we'll have a 3rd decade to start. So we have some basis to begin. There are a couple of citizens in Dover, I think Boynton Clinton had mentioned at one of the open hearings on Springdale that he had information that his father had developed back in the 50s or 60s and so forth. So, but we don't have the expertise in-house to take that and make any meaningful assumptions from it. So I think a committee to take all this and say, okay, what kind of professional advice do we need? Is it a one-time thing? Is it something going forward? Is it, is it something like OPEB where every couple of years we get things refreshed? Who knows? But it's that type of stuff.
No, I think it's a great idea. A little clarity for everyone, though. The Board of Health had maybe a month or two ago advertised a water study, and they put that on hold after they realized that the Selectmen are the water commissioners. That's correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
good point, thank you. And I actually talked to Barbara Schefter, who's chair of the Board of Health, this morning.
Okay.
And she's willing to just let the board do their thing. She's looking at water issues that are more within the domain of the Board of Health specifically.
Good.
So,
and I know last time Barbara was here, I had asked her for the colonial water reports that they had mistakenly received and didn't forward to us. And Dave, if we can look to see if there have been sent, if not, follow up with the Board of Health to get those reports to us.
We will do that, Mr. Dolly.
And as we're on the water issue, we should put it on the tickler to get Don Vaughn in here at least maybe once, every 6 months or so. Even to talk to him about this water study and to pick his brain on this. He's a great, I think he's a great sort of guy to have in here. He's well-spoken. He's loves his job, so.
he's actually the one that brought over to the Selectmen's office the 2004 report from the Massachusetts Office of Environmental Affairs.
Oh, good.
So, I think whatever this committee recommends and whatever proceeds, I do think that we need to designate an employee, whether it's a town engineer or somebody, to be the recipient of, to make sure that we get the reports from Colonial Water on the annual basis, that whatever the state gives to the Board of Health, we get as well. So I think we do need to sort of close that door that's been a little too wide open, I think.
Good.
The other thing I think is important is it's all very well getting reports, but you need to use them. So we need to, establish a process. We'll figure out what's in the reports and then figure out how those reports can help us. Because in my mind, I think the most important thing that came out of the Springdale study is somehow we need to get a baseline of where we are today, that we can measure what the impact is of building additional houses is on that baseline. And I personally think that is going to be really difficult to establish.
Right, and
I'm not even sure you can, but I think it would be important to try and get that base, because all the, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence, and is that one house or two houses, what's happening to the population as a whole? I think it's really important for us to get our arms around the big picture. And I know from my work experience, at one point I put in a sustainable energy program, and we had to figure out how to establish a benchmark, a baseline, because how do you measure success if you don't have a baseline? So I think that would be really important. But I think it's a great cause, and we need to understand, and certainly really important to the town.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we went through the process of getting a legal opinion on our ability to limit development through expansion of colonial water. We know that that's not feasible. And the fact of the matter is that even if the town of Dover owned the water company,
it wouldn't be feasible.
That, again, we have no legal right to deny a connection to the water company to avoid development. So it doesn't really matter who owns the water company.
Right.
So the 2004 state report has an amazing amount of information and actually quantitative analysis of the availability, the quantity of water available, and what can be taken out, sort of like what Colonial Water was talking about when they were here. And but again, I don't know how they got that. I don't know whether it's still relevant and updated.
Right.
So, yeah.
And we certainly don't have the expertise to analyze that kind of stuff.
All I know about water is that you can say it's H2O. That's about it.
One of the things that came out from the Springdale Ave proposal was the question whether colonial water was asked before the application, during the process, whether they were going to be the supplier of water to it. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Vaughn from Colonial said he was never asked.
Right.
So we talked about perhaps putting that into a building permit, a checklist item or something?
It's in there already.
It is.
When they get to the building permit stage, there has to be a sign off as to how they're gonna provide water, but that's at that stage.
Right, that's,
Not at the
okay.
conception stage.
I'm trying to think how we can get it in there earlier.
Well, I know
or
that I've had discussions with Catherine White, who's chair of the Springdale Study Committee,
something. Yeah,
and talked about the whole water issue and what really is within the charge of that committee and what isn't as it relates to this new committee that we might be forming. And she had mentioned that they had planned to bring in Colonial Water Company to
okay,
better understand
Okay, that makes a lot
what
of
they
sense.
could and would be able to provide
yeah.
to that property should they give some development opportunities as options. So we'll be doing that at
Good.
some point.
Well,
Okay, so,
Great
appreciate
idea.
your input on that, and we'll take care of that over the next couple of meetings then. Next item is an update on Minuteman Regional School Technical Agreement. Ms. Hunter, our
Okay.
expert.
Right, so as we know, just as a little recap, background information here, Minuteman has a new amended regional agreement, which for the most part changes the allocation of costs to the member towns. It spreads it more evenly. However, there is a punitive component to it if a town has fewer than 5 students attending the school. The new amended regional agreement has been accepted or ratified by 10 of the 16 member towns. There are 6 remaining towns who are evaluating whether or not they would like to ratify the agreement. However, one of the 6 voted no at their town meeting last year, and best I know, they are not going to relook at the issue. The new agreement needs unanimous votes for it to go into effect. The one good part of the new agreement is it allows towns to exit the region so long with a majority vote rather than a unanimous vote. I have been charged with trying to evaluate, Dover's position with respect to this agreement. I have tried very, very hard to figure out how we could get to yes, because I do believe that this new agreement is the right choice for the remaining towns. I have stated at Minuteman committees, and I think we as a board have talked about how this agreement is punitive to us, and so it's hard for us to ratify the agreement, but we would be willing to do so if we would be allowed or guaranteed an out from the regional agreement.
One thing, for clarity purposes, when you say the new agreement, this is a draft.
Well,
and
it's
we
a
have not-
partially ratified, no, the agreement,
Well,
since the agreement has been ratified by 10 of the 16 member towns,
Yeah,
the agreement is the agreement as is.
I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah.
it was, had to be a 16-member vote.
It does, but in other words,
But
it's not a draft in the sense that it's
All
open
16
for
towns,
amendment.
right.
Okay, thank you.
All
Because-
16 towns have to ratify the same agreement.
Right.
So there's been, where we stand right now is I've been juggling 3 balls in the air. One, I've been trying to figure out how to get to yes for the town of Dover, how to quantify what the costs would be to us under this new agreement. I've also been working with council on putting together a withdrawal from the region for us, and I've also been working with the superintendent of schools and a member of the regional school on behalf of the Dover school to put together an IMA, which basically is an agreement that the Dover School Committee would have with the Minuteman Regional School Committee to guarantee a certain number of spots for Dover students to attend the school. Just for those listening, Dover is required to provide a vocational education to those students in town that would like that type of education. Where we are right now is this morning I got some of the calculations I asked for 30 days ago, and I have not had the opportunity to look at those. Those are basically, they ran the cost of a new school or repairing the existing school. And so I need to look at that to see what the cost is to Dover under this new agreement if we were to ratify it.
That's what all this
Right.
stuff is.
I also hope, but as I've said, I have not been able to look through that there is a scenario where this new agreement does not get ratified by all towns, and they are in dire need of repairing the school. The school could potentially lose its accreditation without repairs being done to the facility. So I also need to understand how that would impact Dover, because this is part of the cost analysis that we need to do. Our costs will not stay what they are today. Under either scenario, we will, if we're still in the region, we're gonna have to pay for some of those costs. At this juncture, because there are so many balls in the air, and there's also a contingent of the 6 towns that haven't ratified the agreement, to amend the existing agreement that's on the table to allow towns to get towns that want to get out prior to the ratification of a new agreement. And unfortunately, that would require an amendment to the agreement, and then all 16 towns would have to re-vote on it. Okay. I had also asked Minuteman to do a calculation, because I think it's really important for the towns that remain in the region to understand how their costs would change if towns like the 4 to 6 towns that want to get out, pull out of the agreement. In total, those towns only send approximately 30 students to the district. So they're saying the impact wouldn't be great, but you need to do a calculation.
That's about 5%.
Right, but the other problem is a lot of the towns are the higher net worth towns. And so under this new agreement, if we were to pull out, it may actually be beneficial to Minuteman, because their foundation, they would get more state reimbursement if we were to go out. But this is all hearsay. Somebody has to do the calculation. So I'm sorry this took really long. So where I am is, at this juncture, unless I get some of the information I need, I think I may be coming to this committee with a recommendation for us to once again defer a vote, because it's just too confusing to present to voters. There is risk to the town. We can't quantify the risk because they're not giving us the calculations that we need to do so. And I'm going to be meeting with Ford Spalding, our representative, and Dan Matthews, who is trying to lead the charge to get the 6 communities that haven't voted to vote yes. And just once again, discuss my frustration with the process.
Ford's having an open hearing or of sorts?
Right, because they are, I'm frustrated because I don't understand what the costs are going to be, and they are, the regional school committee, the Minuteman Regional School Committee is working really hard, because the SBA gave them, the MSBA, I always call them SBA, has given them a deadline that they have to get a project to them before June of 2016. The vote has to take place. So they're working really hard to design a school, a new school with costs, and also to cost out the cost to repair the existing school.
So Ford's presentation on the 17th is going to
be, and I will confirm this with him, my understanding is it's going to be the costs for a new school as they've designed right
conceptual
now.
Costs. Conceptual
costs, as well as the cost to repair the existing facility.
Okay.
But no translation of that into the kind of information that we need. And that
Well,
the towns
I believe
need,
the email I got does some of that.
Okay.
So, but again,
Yep.
I just haven't had the opportunity to understand exactly what they gave me. I briefly looked at it, so.
Okay. The details of Ford's presentation on Tuesday, March 17th, 7:30 up here in the Great Hall?
Right.
Yeah.
I will confirm with him. I went to a meeting at Minuteman, I believe it was February 6th. And at that meeting, they made a presentation about this conceptual new building and the cost for that and the need for it. You know, there is a need to either repair or rebuild the school because they can't continue. There'll be no students going there if they don't have accreditation. And there are 685 students that are attending it. So clearly there's a need for this kind of education. So I believe the presentation will be the same presentation that I saw, but I will confirm that.
Okay.
But, you know, we've said to them, it's probably 5 years now or so that we've been working on, that they've been working on this. That
I don't
you
know. To me, it feels like 20 years, and I've only been involved for 2.
I
So.
didn't need that file that was already.
We had
so-
lunch over there 5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah.
Yep, it
And
was.
so this has been going on and on and on, and they can give all the presentations they want, but the key is to get 16 towns to agree to some type of agreement that moves them forward one way or the other. And we have stated from day one, whether it was 5 years ago or 6 years ago, that we believe in the education that Minuteman provides, that we want to see Minuteman succeed, but we're not going to take on a burden that is unfair to Dover.
Right, and you know, clearly, at least 4 of the 6 towns that haven't voted yet, or the one voted no, they're all small towns, just like Dover. They send 3 to 5 students to the school, and this new formula is punitive. You know, I did some calculations, but I have no idea if my calculations are any good. I'm not the finance person at the school, but you know, the capital portion for us would run somewhere around, I think it was like $85,000 a year, because we would pay for capital for 3 students, regardless of whether we sent anybody to the school.
Plus the student cost, so we're up
And
to
if you send somebody,
$130,000.
you have the student cost. And right now, I confirmed with the superintendent, we have 2 students that are attending. One is going to graduate, and students have until the middle of March to let the Dover Sherwin Regional School know whether or not they're going to opt out of our education and go to another school. There were 8 students that did visit the school. Some of those were ineligible to attend the school because they live in Boston. And if they want a vocational education and they live in Boston, they need to go to one of the Boston vocational schools.
Okay.
So we, you know, the school hasn't heard.
Well, you know, I think it's great that the way that you have involved the regional school and our superintendency was to provide the educational perspective that we
Right.
need going forward.
And Mr. Ramsey's been extremely helpful. He listens to me rant and rave at least once a week about this, so.
Glad to be of service, Mrs. Hunter.
And I think you would agree, our attorney has been very, very, very helpful.
Yes.
You know, really helping us understand why we may not want to take a leap of faith, because I was willing to do that. And, you know, also helping us understand that we really, as a town, need to get an IMA that we negotiate with Minuteman, approved by DESE. We can't just take the leap of faith that this will be in accordance with DESE. So I am working on that too. So we'll
Well,
see.
I think
I think everything the town of Dover is doing, we're doing in good faith, and nobody can ask us to do anything more than what we're doing.
You know, I've certainly voiced my frustration with Ford and the superintendent and middleman who visited us probably a month ago. And as I sit here tonight and listen to the state of Minuteman in this particular agreement, I think back to a year ago when we had the same exact conversation and why we were going to pass on it last town meeting, because there was nothing solidified. So the frustration continues.
Right. However, you know, in their defense, they have gotten more of their ducks in a row, but just not enough. So they have made progress, and I don't want to
Nail down
belittle
all the
that.
shame, it's not just some.
Right, I know what it was like being a member of the Dover-Sherburne Regional Committee, and that's just 2 towns. You have 16 towns, so I can just imagine what that's like, so.
Yeah.
But, I think the point that you keep raising is a good one, which is that in the last year of frustration, and the last 6 years that it's taken to get this thing going, supports it that as much as we would like to, we can't make decisions based on a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
That these issues are too complex. There are too many folks involved, not only 15 other towns, and Minuteman Regional, come on in, and Minuteman Regional, but also the state.
Right,
I mean, the state could choose to do something, and several different organizations in the state. And I don't know about you, but until the state signs on a dotted line.
Right, which is
So-
what our attorney's saying, you really want to make sure that for Dover, you have most of your ducks, as many of your ducks in a row. You've dotted as many i's and crossed as many t's as you
Exactly.
possibly can.
Yeah. Okay.
Good, thank you, Robin, for
Okay,
that.
well, thank you, Robin,
And
once
if
again, for
anybody would
taking
like to
this.
take this on, I would be more than happy to share the fun.
Oh, I think we've sort of done a good job of spreading out the frustrating aspects.
The pain.
of
Spread the pain out,
Spread the
yeah.
pain. We all have one.
For Dave gets to listen to 3 of us.
Exactly. No, that was a great update, Robin, thank you very much. And so I assume that we'll make some kind of presentation at the open hearing?
Well,
Depending on where we are at
I
that
need
point.
to, I did go to the to the Dover School Committee, and I think I was successful because I did get some positive feedback from those members, just articulating the issues, and again, I'll do the same thing, and we're trying, we are really trying in good faith to do the right thing.
Okay. Great, okay, thank you. Hi, Ann. Not,
I got stuck in my driveway.
oh, no.
I had my kid out there shoveling.
Oh, dear.
Just about ready to give up. Anyway, my apologies. I came as soon as I got out.
Please. This winter, that I'm just, as long as everybody's safe
Well,
and,
it's
you know.
four-wheel drive, but it wasn't bare, so that's what the problem was, and everything melted and it's all.
Right.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's a
I know.
mess.
I thought my driver was in great shape. My husband's been out there, he's probably spent 34 hours over the last month plowing and snow blowing and everything else. And finally, after 3 weeks, Dover Trucking was able to make it down the driveway, because that's a big truck.
Yes,
So
I
my
know.
husband comes back that night and goes, "What happened to my driveway?" And he had to get back out there, so, it's the same type of thing.
Anyway.
And so we will, it's perfect timing.
Frustrating way to end the day.
Yeah, it is. So we will go back to item number 1 from the agenda, which is the Springdale Study Committee update. Ann Reitmeyer is a member of that committee, and she was going to give us a very brief update on progress to date, and then talk about some subcommittee activity.
Yeah.
Great.
So, I thought Catherine asked me to bring these and distribute. This is what we're planning to hand out, mostly, at a couple of community meetings that we scheduled to
Thank you.
give members of the town a chance to come to a meeting at the library and ask questions, give their ideas about other ideas for potential use of Springdale that we may not have come up with. And so there's one scheduled, I believe, for this Saturday, and then I'm doing another one on Tuesday. And one of the committee members put this together, which I think is very helpful for people because it's something that they can walk away with. It gives them.
And keep thinking about it.
Yeah,
Right.
and he produced some, he's wonderful. He's a former town planner, and it definitely shows.
I love the form.
I know the
Yeah.
forms, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's
Yeah.
that I'm hoping we'll get some, a decent turnout. We tried to do it, both on a weekend and then on a morning, so that we could get as many people as possible, given that people are on completely different schedules, so.
Well, I haven't had a chance to read the paper, but I was taking it out of the mailbox this afternoon in the Dover Sherburne Press. It was on the front page.
Yeah, I did read it.
So,
It was nice.
it's in there, and I don't know if it's on the website yet, or whether it's gone out in the last email.
Yeah, my
So-
memory is when I went to look,
Okay.
We had to change the dates because the first date that we came up with wasn't convenient, however. I'm pretty sure it's on the website.
Okay, so just for the audience and the press, it's Saturday, February 28th, that's this coming Saturday, from 10 to 11:30 in the Dover Library Community Room, which is the room downstairs in the basement there, ground floor. And then the second one is Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, March 3rd, from 10 to 11:30 as well. Looks like a great package.
Right. Yeah, so, before we get into the subcommittees, the other thing which I think is extremely useful, and it's really in draft form, so I don't want to share it at this point, but our same erstwhile former town planner put together a wonderful preliminary work plan that we're going to fine tune. And so with ideas about where we should be within each month, so that by the time we get to the summer, we'll be able to have gotten our ideas to the point where we can begin to write, a written report and be ready to present to the selectmen around the time that you targeted, which I believe was August or so.
In early fall. So.
Early fall. Yeah. So, that's something certainly that we can share with you when we've had a little bit more opportunity to flesh it out. But I think it's a great idea. It's an ambitious schedule, and I don't know how it will hold up in the summer, but right now we're meeting every other week, which I think is, about what we can handle given people's schedules, but it's a decent amount of time to help us to move forward. So we are at the point where we form some subcommittees based on the areas that we think are the ones that we want to explore first. This doesn't mean that there won't be other subcommittees formed along the way, but these are the ones that we're looking at right now. And they are subdivision, looking at subdivision, open space, recreation, senior center, and some solar. And I don't think we're thinking that solar would be an exclusive use, but that there might be a way of doing some solar. And I actually am a consultant to a startup solar company called Blue Wave Capital, so I have some experience dealing with this.
So just on a side note,
Yes.
one of the things, and maybe you could come to one of the long-range planning meetings, because one of the things we're looking at long-range planning is how can Dover become a green community?
Yeah, and I think I saw that in some correspondence. I'm sorry, this week has been a total.
No. So one of the
Catherine White has been.
So solar, because one of the things Dover needs to do is not so much have an alternative energy source, but to designate an area where we could potentially have a designated.
Yeah. No, and it's clearly the wave of the present and next future.
So I'll be in contact with you because I think it would be good to talk to you.
So those are the subcommittees. What we thought was really that we're getting to the point, and I think we need to do a little bit more work as a committee as a whole, but that we would use, that on the dates that we've already scheduled for the committee to meet as a whole, that we would meet partly as a full committee and then break down into subcommittee meetings, so that we can keep the nightmare of scheduling everybody to a minimum and make some progress. We've had presentations from the planning board and the Conservation Commission, and I think we really feel that it's part of our homework, and I certainly am one of those committee members that have to delve into looking at the open space report and other things like that that are going to affect our thinking, and that we need to make sure we're that we're trying to move in a way that is consistent with the other planning documents and planning that are a result of people having met and thought about ideas for the town, so that we're not reinventing the wheel too. So I think it's a good committee. I think it's a diverse committee, and we've had a fair amount of participation. People attending.
Great.
And that's, you know, that's not always easy too, because we're trying to strike a balance between, you know, entertaining questions and observations from the audience, but, you know, moving the work of our committee forward. So I'm hoping, personally, and I think we are as a committee, that these public meetings will help us, you know, provide more of a forum, an additional forum for Dover residents. And I don't think these will be the last meetings that we do by any means, but we thought we ought to, you know, at the outset while we're still brainstorming, because we, you know, we still are, I think, are in that mode in terms of looking at, you know, all the possibilities before we whittle down, you know, what's really out in left field and what makes sense to review more in depth. So anyway, I don't know if any of you have questions, but...
Do we have to take action to create these subcommittees, or is it just,
Informational.
Well, we need to, my understanding was that there is one additional person on a subcommittee who's not part of the Springdale Study Committee now, so that person we have to specifically appoint.
Yeah, I believe it was...
Bill Motley?
Kitty Motley's, I'm trying to think of,
Bill Motley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would like to appoint Bill to which subcommittee?
Well, that's what I'm sure, and Catherine could probably answer that question if she were here, but I don't have it in my notes.
Can we
We can, why don't we do it, you know, we'll
appoint him and give Catherine?
contingent upon the decision on how you, where you want, he wants to be placed and everything
well,
else.
that leads me to the next question. The subcommittee, I've written the 5 of them down, I believe. Have you identified the members for each one already?
For the subcommittees?
Yes.
In part. There's one committee that, well, there are a couple of committees that could do with more people. But, you know, we haven't twisted any arms yet.
Okay,
So we had given to Catherine all the resumes that we had received at the board of selectmen level when we were first looking to create this study committee.
Yeah.
Because there are about another, probably dozen
Yeah.
or so that we were not able to appoint. And all of them during our interview process, I believe, had said that they might be interested in participating in a subcommittee. So I hope that the committee will take a look at those folks and touch base with them.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that I, you know, mention that to Catherine and then we take a look at that.
Okay.
But I mean, I think, you know, on a couple of these, we've got a good beginning, so, and, you know, we have a meeting next Thursday night, so I think probably we need to start doing.
Okay, so let me make a formal motion then to recommend appointment of Bill Motley to a subcommittee of the Springdale Study Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
I know Mr. Motley, and you'll be impressed with his professionalism.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I love his mother.
And thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry.
No, don't apologize.
We had other things to do.
Well, I know, it's just, I hate being late, and when was I late?
That's okay.
But try to drive straight on your way home.
I was really stuck. Anyway,
Oh, dear.
thank you very much for being
Yeah.
understanding.
Thank you. Thank you. See you next week at the meeting.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Okay, back to our fourth agenda item, which is to execute the 2015 annual town meeting warrant. There's the new one in the packet. This has been we have discussed this probably the last 3 or 4 meetings now. This is a preparation for the annual town meeting, the first Monday of May. And we started with a few more warrant articles than we're ending up with. And our last meeting, we talked about removing 2 and moving some around. So what we have here, Dave, reflects the revision of February 26th. So that
It does.
Yep. So we have, and the warrant is closed. The warrant closed in January, and we are not allowed to reopen it, so this is it.
This is it.
So we have 24 articles, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Of those 24, 15 are annual recurring articles, and 9 are new articles. So to review those again, I will not go over the recurring articles. Article 10, it's the first of the non-recurring, is a request from the Council on Aging to amend the Dover Code to reduce the number of members of the Council on Aging. Then we voted last week to move the facilities upgrade at the Carroll Community Center to Article 11, because it does impact the Council on Aging as well as a major user of that building. Article 12 is a request from the Conservation Commission for replenishment of the Conservation Commission Fund. This is a fund that was reactivated, I think, 2 years ago now. It had been a fund that was funded every year for years, a while ago. The Conservation Commission used up their fund buying the Brody property on Dedham Street 2 years ago, and are now replenishing it through annual appropriations from town meeting. We have Article 13, which is the Dover-Sherburne Regional School Committee capital improvements through the Article 14. Article 13 we don't really need.
I was just gonna ask that.
Right, because we now have...
The IMA has not yet been executed by the region.
Really?
Really?
I thought they were doing that at the last meeting.
I'm surprised, because Sherburne executed it, we executed it. Is there a holdup for a specific reason?
I don't believe there's any substantive reason that they're not going to sign it, but at the board's last meeting, because they hadn't signed it, the board wanted to keep it on, and my recommendation would do the same.
Yeah, I assumed that there was something between last meeting and this, but okay, so Article 13, could we check to make sure that this is not going to be an issue?
Well, it's
We
interesting.
already have.
I was at the warrant committee meeting last night, and they talked about these two warrant articles. And I said, well, one of them's going away, because I assumed since both towns executed, I assumed it was executed at the region level.
That was the intention, but it was delayed until next week, I believe.
And the warrant committee liaison to the regional school committee said that the regional school committee had not voted to approve the $350,000 in capital.
Right, that I know is still open.
Okay, so that's probably why the region is...
I believe that's correct.
Okay. Well, warrant committee, I'm sorry, because I took a hard stand on it since we executed it a couple weeks ago. Okay, I stand corrected.
So we'll leave Article 13 in there with the expectation that it will be dismissed at town meeting. And Article 14 will fund the capital request from the region through the second year of our IGA with Sherburne.
Right.
And my understanding is that the number is more or less firm. Sherburne had wanted some more information, I think, before they sort of...
I'm shocked that they signed that if they're asking for more information.
Yeah, well, I think it's the advisory committee and the numbers and the, so, once again, okay.
Wow.
Article 15 is the Minuteman Amendment for the Regional Vocational School Agreement, which...
What's going on with that agreement?
Could you repeat that, Robin?
Which, based on the conversation we had about 20 minutes ago, will probably be dismissed.
Well, the miracles happen.
Miracles
We've got
happen, that
all
is
the
true.
information we need.
That is true. Article 16 is also related to Minuteman, to,
So in order, you need to have an affirmative vote on Article 15 in order to vote on 16 and 17.
and
So
17.
without that, then they don't.
So we've gone from 9 discretionary probably down to 5.
Right.
Okay. Then there's an amendment to, for Mass General Law for the Board of Fire Engineers. That's it.
Okay.
So it could be a short meeting relative to the number of warrant articles at least. One never knows how long various things will be discussed. But we have to approve this tonight.
It execute tonight, goes to the printer tomorrow.
Okay, okay. So with that being said and that review done, we have the list of warrant articles. We have the actual warrant, which will be going out to all the town households next week or the week after.
2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks, which lists all these. And let me just check
The capital, I have the list,
Oh,
I
it's
have.
capital right here, yeah.
Capital's right up right here, so that's what I was doing.
The securities.
But you know, while we go through this, we should remind people that the town caucus is Monday, March 9th, because that's coming up really quickly. And then the Warrant Committee open hearing is March 16th, so.
I know that, I noticed that the town clerk has put onto the Dover website homepage the list of all the open elected
That's a great
positions.
idea.
Excuse
For
me.
those that might be interested in running for office, the list includes all the positions that are open for election in May. So this looks fine from the capital budget standpoint.
Yes.
And this is just the standard, we're not changing anything in Article 9 on the revolving funds,
Correct.
so it's as is. And then we have,
Article 15, 16, and 17, we had Bob Ritchie draft for those.
Okay.
okay,
They were reviewed by the regional school administration as well.
I don't want to take credit.
well, you have to take credit for choosing Bob Ritchie, who's become such a good,
Oh,
you and Dave did a great interview.
Right, right.
Well, I know that doing the warrant has been a Greer's thing over the years, and so I'd like to particularly thank Mona and Dave. Dave for going back into whatever memory cells are back there about doing warrants, and
Ones that are
Mona
left.
for picking it up and learning a whole new thing about warrants. But we've made the deadline, and we really appreciate the effort.
Thank you.
So with that, any other comments on the warrant?
Oh, we need to
No,
sign
I
it.
do not.
Well, do we vote on it?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like we voted on
Yeah, well, this is the final.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I know,
already.
yeah. But what's the fifth? So I would like to make a motion to approve the warrant for the annual town meeting on Monday, May 4th at 7 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Oh, all three. Okay.
No?
Do you want us to sign in blue, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Chartreuse.
We could color code. Since several of the signatures are illegible anyway.
I need to sign
we could-
that one.
We could identify by color.
Somebody signed in blue.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start a plug that I think we should make at every selectmen's meeting between now and town meeting. I was getting some stuff ready the other day, and I was looking at my notes from last year's town meeting. And it took us, the meeting starts at 7 o'clock, it took us 25 minutes last year to get a quorum of 175. So
25,
folks,
huh?
yep. So folks, get those babysitters set up right now. And let's-
Remind them of the day.
and let's, on Monday, May 4th at 7 o'clock, down at the Region, and let's see if we can, if we start earlier, we end earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to start closer to time.
Interesting.
Yep.
And I think as far as the town meetings go, wasn't there a write-up today in the Globe on the town moderator? The antiquated laws in Massachusetts used to be that for a town meeting to be postponed for weather purposes, bad snowstorm, whatever, the town moderator and the town clerk would have to go to that and make the call. But they just changed that, I think, today or a couple of days. Now they can just do it over the phone and they cancel the thing, right? For safety reasons.
Well, let's hope that on May 4th, we,
Yep, I get you.
The snow's
there may be a
melted.
few piles under the trees in the woods, but. Okay, again, thank you, Dave and Mona, for getting the warrant done. And we're back to a couple more revisions to the Selectmen's offering for the capital budget. So, let me pull out.
It just goes to the schedule, right?
So we had included in the capital budget item, an item with a TBD amount for fiscal year 17 for the, doing something to the front entranceway and walkway at the Carroll Community Center. And the Capital Budget Committee asked us to be, since it's only 2 years, 1 year out really from next year, to better define it and put a value on it. And of course, part of that had to do with fixing the concrete and all that, in addition to some other aesthetic entrance type work that might be done. But we actually did that repair work, and it's nice and smooth now and much safer and everything else. So in discussions with Dave and Dave's conversations with Carl, the thought was that we would move it out to...
We actually removed it entirely.
Because we're moving out to 2021, which is on the list. So it's still on the list, but it's out in out year 6 at this point.
So this
So the
$30,000 here, number 8, am I looking at the right thing?
No,
it's
it's
gone.
no longer on there, it's gone, because we only go out to 2020.
Oh, I know, but it's still in...
No.
That's a
This is the
different
front
project.
entranceway.
Ah, thank you.
Number 8 is the
I was
side entrance
confused.
that goes, right,
Right, to the cafeteria.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've removed that whole thing out, you know, with the understanding that obviously, you know, every year, you know, Carl presents his stuff, CMAC takes a look at their priorities, it might move back in, it may not, but given that it was very, at this point, very ill-defined as well, what the destiny would be to move it out. The other item was replacing all the lighting in the community center. So a couple of years ago, we worked with NSTAR and did a lighting upgrade for energy efficiency and so forth. This had to do with more cosmetic aspects of taking the lighting, which is old style and very elementary school, and changing it to a more modern visual,
Okay.
as well as whatever new lighting technology might be in play, because it's changing so quickly that certainly 4 or 5 years from now, there will probably be even more efficient lighting opportunities. So that was a TBD for 2020 as well. And we moved that to 2021 also.
Okay.
Okay, so just taking those 2 TBDs out.
Okay. So we just vote to approve the new schedule based on that?
Exactly, and we'll need to get that to Bob Springett and to James Stewart quickly, since they're working on the Blue Book.
Well, I'll make the motion that we amend our capital budget, 5-year capital budget request, per what Carol just described.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you for that. And then, we have the police vehicle budget. So, you know, we've had the chief in to talk about the 3 vehicles he wants to replace in this coming fiscal year. 1 patrol vehicle, and then the chief and the detective cars. And we had originally broken them out, and we looked back at how we've handled administrative vehicles in the past. And we've always had 1 line item for police vehicles and used the explanation in the Blue Book to talk about the detail. So with that, we, this request also would, just changes it from 2 line items to 1 line item, 3 vehicles for $83,000. The dollar amount doesn't change at all.
I didn't think it had
Right,
changed. Okay.
and in anticipation of tonight's vote, I discussed this with the Capital Budget Committee at our meeting on Tuesday, and they were fine with that, and the Blue Book will reflect 1 line item with a discussion about the 3 different vehicles. So would you like to make a motion on that?
Yes, I will, that we approve the revised police capital budget request from 2 requests to 1 for the same number of vehicles, 3 vehicles.
Great.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Hopefully that will fit the capital budget. Okay, next item, appointment of full-time police officer to the police department. Mr. Ramsey?
Mrs. Lisbon, members of the board, the chief is recommending the appointment of a current special police officer that you had previously appointed in April of 2014 to fill a vacancy in the permanent ranks. This would be Officer Matthew Lavery, subject to all of the normal conditions, specifically going to and completing the academy and all the other tests that are required.
So it says he's currently a full-time officer with the Framingham State University Police Department. So he's going to resign from that, and, okay.
And is this is to fill an open position?
A vacancy created by a resignation several months ago.
And did we meet this young man last year with his family in here?
Yes, you did.
We met him this year,
This year?
in April, he came in with his family.
So time flies when
Right,
you're having a good
right.
time, so. Well, good. You know, I think the chief, who does a wonderful job for the town, has really done an outstanding job of hiring new individuals, and so I would have loved to see the chief in here tonight for this hire, but I guess practice, we don't do that.
Right.
Well, clearly the system works as well. You know, it's great to bring in somebody in, really have a chance to get to know them, see what they're really capable of,
Yeah.
and then move them forward.
See how they fit.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
so that's important.
So,
Great, would you like to make?
yes,
a
I'll make
motion?
the motion that we appoint full-time Dover police officer, Officer Matthew Lavery, to full-time, and he is slated to start in the end of March of this year.
Right. And he's slated to attend the police academy at the end of March as well.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And our next item, excuse me, is another appointment. It's time for an administrative assistant to the chief of police. Mr. Ramsey.
Mrs. Lisbon, with the retirement of the previous incumbent, we went out to recruit a replacement, and we, as you recall, we have, with the board's permission, revised the job to make it a full-time position that would not only cover the duties of the previous incumbent over at the police department, but also assist here in the town hall. So we went out to advertise for this full-time job. We received about 25 applications. We interviewed 7 candidates, and then we being Chief McGowan, Mrs. Pugach, and myself, we weeded that down to 3 finalists, all stellar candidates, and the recruitment team, along with Mrs. Schillo, interviewed the 3 finalists and have come up with an exciting prospect, Susan Young, who we think will be an ideal fit for the job and is in fact enthusiastic about coming to work in Dover.
And she laughs at Mr. Ramsey's joke.
Oh, so now we know, it's not on the record.
Talk to you later.
Enough said. Enough said.
I really like her background. She has a lot of experience, you know, not only as an administrative assistant, but also as an office manager and a little bit of accounting, so.
You know, it's an important job over there. There's not only a lot of paperwork and
Right.
so forth, but it's relatively independent.
Yes. Yep. Good.
Wonderful. I know that we've been anxious to get that position filled, so.
It's an understatement.
Yes.
So do you want to make the
Excellent.
motion?
Please.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Susan Lasden Young as the administrative assistant to the chief of police.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Do we have a start date on her?
March 9th.
March 9th, thank you.
Great. Okay, if you, just one,
Oh,
tell it's the winter.
I was gonna say, wedding season's over, huh?
Just one special license, this one from Massport, for
It was,
retroactive,
right.
February 18th. And Chief had approved it. So do I have a motion to approve the special license of
So
February
moved.
18th? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
I wonder if it snowed that day.
Yeah.
This I've been expecting.
I imagine there've been a lot of cancellations of a lot of things.
Thank you. Thank you.
And our next item, to your point, if this is, we're expecting, I would imagine that we'll probably see a few more of these before the season is over and the dogwoods are in bloom. This is a request from Craig Hughes, our superintendent of streets, for additional funds for his snow and ice budget. We had budgeted $344,000 at town meeting last year. At our last meeting on February 11th, we approved an additional $75,000, and he is now requesting an additional $125,000. And on the back, you can see the detail to what's being held, so he's already aware of $65,000
Right.
of expenses already incurred. And we still have some time for winter to go.
It's gonna snow on Sunday again.
So it's going to be another one of those years when we have a lot of snow and ice budget delta that's going to be moved over into fiscal year 16 and impact our tax rate at that point. So would you like to make a motion, Mr. Dolly?
Yes, I will. I'll make the motion that we approve the additional $125,000 to the snow and ice budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think we should thank all the Dover Highway Department employees for the wonderful job that they do. I mean, they've been out there round the clock.
It's unbelievable.
It's amazing.
And they always smile, you know, they wave and.
It's unbelievable they're volunteering to do that, too.
Well, you know, we
You could
talk,
probably get a few volunteers to drive some of those trucks.
we talk every single winter about Dover's roads. And this year is no exception, and probably even more so. I mean, the difference between Dover and our surrounding communities when I've been traveling around is just extraordinary this year.
Yeah.
There was an accident in Needham, 2 cars in front of me yesterday, because a car was coming off one of the little side streets and couldn't see the cars coming down the main road. And, you know, I know they've been out there shaving down some of the piles, you know, as well as keeping the streets wide. They've just done a fantastic job. Fantastic job. Next item, approval of the minutes of February 4th.
What do they call in Broadway when the star goes down and the backup? Who's the backup? There's a name for it.
Oh, the
Understudy.
understudy.
Okay. This is where.
Oh, you were the
It's the
understudy.
understudy for you that you had difficulty speaking.
Wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Most of the time, people can't follow that.
Sorry.
I had requested a little clarification on lines 56, 57, and 58
Yep.
from the draft that we had received.
I did, and for the value, the value is in there now, so, yeah.
Right.
Regarding the purchase of that small portion of Springdale Ave, has there been a response to the attorney?
I spoke to the attorney personally the day after the meeting.
Okay, so the verbal response is good enough in this particular matter? Okay, thank you. Good. I have no further comments.
Me neither, maybe.
I'll make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes of February 4th, 2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mona, thank you for getting those done so promptly, in addition to everything else. So we have no citizens here tonight. Again, we heard a couple dates tonight, so let's go over those for recap. March 9th is the caucus in the town hall. It's either 7 or 7:30. I think it's on the warrant, right?
It is on the warrant. Rona?
The caucus is at 7:30 in the Great Hall. The caucus is where folks that are interested in running for any of the open elected positions in town have a chance to be nominated. So take a look on the website at all the open issues, at all the open positions, and if you're interested, you can talk to Felicia Hoffman, our town clerk, on the process involved at Town Caucus. And then we have on the following Monday, also in the town hall, also at 7:30, the open hearing. This is an important prelude to the town meeting. It's an opportunity for the Warrant Committee, which sponsors the open hearing, to review all the warrant articles, to review the budgets, to hear from citizens and the various committees on the items that you'll be voting on in May. So it's a wonderful chance to begin to get up to speed before the Blue Book comes out on the issues. And of course, the Warrant Committee appreciates any comments that are raised by citizens. So I hope that you'll attend that as well. That's all in preparation for the town meeting, which is May 4th at 7 o'clock in the evening. Needs 175 people for a quorum, since we voted a couple years ago not to reduce the quorum number.
Yes, I do remember that.
And any other dates?
Yes.
March is Springdale.
Well, I get a couple of them. March 7th, which is a week from Saturday morning, CMAC, which is the Carroll
Management
Advisory. I was going to have an open house at the Carroll Community Center at 11 a.m. through 1 p.m. Really to not showcase the building, but to showcase the potential of the building, and where we have put forth a warrant request to upgrade some portion of that building. We're trying to explain it to people that morning. So that's 11 a.m. on Saturday, March 7th. Then secondly, Minuteman and Ford on the 17th at 7:30.
And
We spoke about earlier tonight.
Right, and that should be a presentation on the proposed new building project that they're having there.
Okay.
And you know, I think people
Good.
should attend that. I would also like to remind people that the Springdale Study Committee has the community input workshops. The first one is this coming Saturday at 10 to 11 a.m. in the community room in the library, and the second one is on March 3rd. And again, this is one of the biggest decisions we as citizens of Dover are faced with, so I encourage people to attend that meeting.
You know, we had such wonderful participation through the various selectmen's meetings and formal open hearings that we had for the Springdale process this past spring, summer, and fall. That I hope that the hundreds of folks that participated in that will spend some time with the Springdale Study Committee and share their thoughts as well.
It's good point. I was very well attended, all those open hearings and meetings.
Right.
Anything else?
That's
Mr. Dolly?
it. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, no? Okay. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, on schedule.
Right, I was just about to say that.
Good night, everyone.